The life of a chosen one is full of contradictions that don't make sense to the outside world. And one of the most profound paradoxes is the ability to be a soft-hearted healer, while, at the same time, being a fierce, spiritual warrior. There is something unique about those who are chosen because they can step into two roles that seem completely opposite, yet work in perfect harmony within their spirit. As a healer, the chosen one has an extraordinary capacity for compassion, empathy, and understanding. They can feel the weight of another person's pain, almost as if it were their own. And this sensitivity allows them to reach into the depths of someone's soul and bring restoration. People often feel safe around them because they carry an aura of comfort and reassurance. Their words can soothe wounds, and their presence alone can create a sense of calm. This gift of healing is not accidental. It comes from the deep connection they have with God, a connection that pours into their spirit and enables them to be a vessel of light and renewal for others. But at the same time, being a healer does not mean they are weak. In fact, their healing nature is balanced by an equally powerful warrior spirit. Beneath the gentle heart lies a fierce strength that rises up when darkness tries to invade. Chosen ones are warriors in the truest sense, but their battleground is not always physical, it is spiritual. They know how to fight unseen battles through prayer, resilience, and unwavering faith. They have endured so much themselves that they cannot afford to remain passive when they sense attacks against their soul or the souls of those they love. This warrior nature makes them unshakable when storms arise, because they have learned to stand firm, armored with divine strength that doesn't come from human ability. What makes this paradox so extraordinary is that both qualities are equally strong within them. The world often expects people to be one or the other, either soft and gentle or strong and unyielding, but chosen ones carry both identities without contradiction. They can wipe away someone's tears in one moment and then stand boldly against forces of darkness in the next. They are not limited to a single role, because their calling requires them to be versatile, flexible, and equipped for every season. The same heart that knows how to nurture also knows how to fight, and the same hands that comfort are the ones that carry the sword of the Spirit. This balance is what makes their presence so impactful. People may underestimate them because of their soft and caring demeanor, but when the moment comes to rise in battle, they reveal a strength that cannot be denied. It is this duality that keeps them aligned with their mission, for they must be able to pour healing into those who are wounded, yet still possess the courage to protect what is sacred. Without the healer, they could not restore. Without the warrior, they could not defend. Both exist within them as part of their divine identity, shaping them into vessels uniquely prepared for their role as chosen ones. The paradox of the chosen ones is that they are called to embrace both suffering and victory, and this duality is what makes their journey so unique. Their path is not one of ease, but one filled with trials that seem overwhelming at times. They often wonder why they must carry so much pain, why they face betrayals, disappointments, and battles that others never seem to encounter. What they may not realize is that their suffering is not meant to destroy them, but to refine them. The weight of their struggles becomes the very forge that shapes their spirit, giving them strength that cannot be shaken. Every heartbreak, every loss, and every sleepless night is turned into fuel for resilience, preparing them for greater victories that ordinary people could never achieve. Chosen ones often find themselves misunderstood because the depth of their trials does not match the lives of those around them. They are burdened with responsibilities they did not ask for, and they carry wounds that take years to heal. Yet hidden within those wounds is a divine purpose. Their suffering builds endurance, and their endurance creates wisdom. It gives them the ability to guide others out of darkness, because they themselves have walked through valleys where the shadows seemed endless. Unlike those who have never been tested, chosen ones develop a profound empathy for the broken and be a supernatural strength to overcome adversity. Their suffering becomes the birthplace of their power. And it is through these trials that they are molded into vessels that can withstand far more than the average soul. But suffering alone is not their destiny. The other side of the paradox is victory, and this is where the true mystery lies. Every battle endured brings a victory that is not always visible to the outside world, but deeply felt in the spirit. Their triumphs may not look like material success or worldly recognition, but rather they manifest as unshakable faith, clarity of purpose, and divine favor. Each time they rise from their pain, they claim a victory that strengthens their spiritual authority. The very things meant to break them become testimonies of resilience, and their scars become evidence of survival. The chosen ones know that victory does not mean an absence of suffering, but the ability to rise above it. This paradox of suffering and victory works together in perfect balance. Without pain, they would lack the depth of understanding required to lead and heal others. Without victory, they would lose sight of the hope that keeps them moving forward. The two are intertwined, shaping them into individuals who not only survive their trials, but also transform them into stepping stones toward their divine assignment. They carry within themselves the knowledge that pain is temporary, but the lessons, births, are eternal. In this way, their suffering is never wasted, and their victories are never shallow. For both serve as reminders of their unbreakable connection to a higher calling. One of the most defining paradoxes of the chosen ones is the way they live between isolation and divine connections, set apart from the world yet deeply aligned with God's purpose. From an early stage in their journey, they often feel different, as though they don't quite belong in the same patterns or circles that others move in. This separation can feel like rejection, abandonment, or loneliness, but it is not by accident. Their isolation is not punishment, it is preparation. The chosen ones are often pulled away from people, environments, and distractions, so that they can develop an intimacy with the divine that would be impossible in constant noise. This solitude becomes the soil where their spiritual gifts take root, where clarity is born, and where their calling becomes undeniable. While others crave crowds, The chosen ones are often pushed into silence, because in that stillness, they begin to hear the voice of God more clearly than ever before. At the same time, isolation teaches them endurance and trust. It strips away the false comforts of the world and forces them to lean entirely on divine strength. In the quiet of separation, they discover who they truly are without the masks society expects them to wear. This is where their authenticity grows, where they are refined into vessels capable of carrying light even in darkness. But this solitude does not mean they are truly alone. In fact, the paradox is that in their isolation, they are more connected than ever before. They may not be surrounded by people, but they are surrounded by divine presence, angels, and unseen guidance that constantly reassures them they are chosen for something greater. What looks like loneliness on the surface is actually alignment with a higher purpose that few can understand. This paradox also explains why chosen ones often walk paths that others cannot relate to. They are misunderstood not because they are wrong, but because they operate on a frequency that is beyond common perception. Their choices, their silence, and their detachment from worldly pursuits confuse those who live only for material gain. Yet it is this very separation that elevates them to a place of spiritual authority. In their isolation, they are being equipped with discernment, wisdom, and insight that will later allow them to guide others. They are hidden for a time, so they can be revealed when the moment is right. The period of being set apart is not meant to break them, but to strengthen them, so that when they step into their calling, they carry a depth and power that cannot be denied. Living between isolation and divine connection means learning to embrace both sides of the paradox. It means accepting the discomfort of being misunderstood and rejected by the world, while also rejoicing in the closeness of God's presence that fills the void. Chosen ones are not meant to fit in, because their lives carry a mission to sacred, to be diluted by worldly distractions. Their path may feel lonely, but in reality, it is a divine positioning that keeps them aligned with destiny. This is why they are set apart, not for isolation alone, but for connection with something far greater than the approval of people. The life of the chosen ones is full of divine paradoxes that may appear contradictory to the world, but are the very evidence of their higher calling. Put to be both a healer and a warrior, to carry both suffering and victory, to live in both isolation and divine connection. These are not mistakes, they are marks of divine selection. Every contradiction is shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for the role that only you can fulfill. You are not meant to walk an easy path. You were meant to walk a sacred one, where every tear, every trial, and every triumph has meaning beyond what you can see. The paradoxes you live are the proof that you are chosen, designed to embody both strength